I'm Olivia Clarke, editor of Chicago Lawyer Magazine and the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin, and today we're going to be talking about personal brands with Tina Martini and David Susler, the Inside Out columnists. How are you both doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. So, how does one develop their own personal brand?
Ready to go?
Sure, why not?
I mean, there's a lot of ways you do it, and it's personal brand. It's kind of, your personal brand is a lot of who you are and how you present yourself to the world. That's what it is. So you need to get to know yourself, and it's something that's going to develop as you grow in your career and get more experience in your career and dealing with people. But to develop that, a lot of it starts with an inward look as to who you are. Who do you want to be? Who do you want the world to think of you as? Because your personal brand, it's like your calling card. It's your reputation. It's your specialty. It's your physical appearance, your dress. So those are the first things you have to start thinking about to develop that.
Well, and I think it's also really important to look at it in the context of where you work. I mean, I'm assuming that we're talking about the personal brand in the context of your profession, and I think it's really important that you strike this delicate balance between being unique, being innovative, and setting yourself apart, but you also have to be somewhat consistent at the same time with respect to the branding of the organization for which you work, because there comes a certain point where if you're not really similarly branded, not identically branded, but at least similarly branded with a similar theme, then it could actually end up working to your detriment if you don't kind of balance it all out and make sure that you have your unique skills and you tout those and your unique sort of presence, but at the same time you show the continuity you have with those that you work with.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it also, you know, as I mentioned, it's going to change over time, and you have to understand, you know, if you're a junior associate, you should try to project a certain image, whereas when you're a partner, you may have a little more freedom to project some individuality, for example, but it doesn't mean you can't let your individuality shine through, even when you're a more junior lawyer. And the same as, you know, the context, in-house, outside. It's just, you need to be aware of the environment that Tina said, and it will change over time.
And it has to be authentic. I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of times people like to kind of mirror other people that they admire or who they really like, and if it doesn't come off as authentic and being really who you are, then that's another circumstance where it can work against you.
Right. And, you know, when you're in school, you may project a certain image because you're a student, and just when you become a professional, you have to examine, is this really important in my presentation to the public? This is what they're going to see when I walk through the door, for example. Is it important? Like men wearing earrings. It was very different when I started practice than it is today, but it can be an issue in the professional setting that may be different in a non-professional setting.
Just to delve a little deeper into this, what are some characteristics that go into a person's brand? I mean, you know, what makes a brand for a person?
Well, as we touched on it, it's your personality. It's the way you treat people. It's the way you act. It could be as simple as designing a business card and the look on your business card.
It's your interests. I think it's your background. I think a lot of it is what your expertise is. There are certain niches that people have in their practice, and I think in order to continue to build on those niches, it's essential to look at the client base. And so, for example, when you're like, if you're an attorney that specializes in doing, like, you know, like a sports agent and targets the services to sports, then you're going to have a little bit of a different image probably than somebody who's not in that area. Same thing with, you know, someone who's an entertainment lawyer. You're going to have to want to hang out with people who are in the fashion industry, who are in the entertainment industry. So you have to be really strategic about who you're trying to sell your services to. And you've got to think about, okay, well, will people in that industry receive my image in a way that is favorable such that they'll want to work with me? And I think that's really kind of how you have to look at your brand, is if I were one of these people, would I want to work with me? So.
Yeah.
And how does having a strong personal brand really help your clients, or help you better serve your clients?
Well, because it is your calling card, that's what people think of. So if you have a strong, unique, and again, always authentic card, that's gonna, or authentic image, that's gonna stick in people's minds. So, you know, I'm a client, I'm thinking of a lawyer, I'm gonna think, well, you know, this is somebody who really stands out. And they strike me as smart, intelligent, reliable. That's what's important about having a strong personal brand, and that's how it can be beneficial, because that person's going to be more top of mind.
Well, and I think that, and that's a great point, I think also that like attracts like. So if your brand is a strong brand and it's authentic, then people will look at your bio, for example, or will talk to people who know you and will say, well, what can you tell me about so-and-so? And if they like what they hear, both in terms of what your brand is as well as your accomplishments, people you work with, the results you've driven for them, then I think it's just much more likely, especially at the beginning of a new relationship, for you to hit it off and for there to be an alignment of goals and interests and things like that. So I think ultimately that ends up being better for you as in developing your practice as well as for your clients, because there's not going to be that awkwardness that there sometimes is at the beginning of a relationship when you don't really know where the person is coming from.
Yeah. You know, I want to throw in, and this is kind of backing up a little bit to the question, how do you develop your brand? And just a little story, you know, when I was younger, for example, I'd be traveling in an airport and I would see somebody just in khakis and a sport coat, you know, but they're just getting on a plane, or even sometimes just jeans and a navy blazer. And I always thought, boy, they look really nice. That person looks successful. They must be successful. And it took me some time to get there in my own mind, but you know, at some point in the last several years I realized, well, I also want to look successful, and I realized I like wearing sport coats. I didn't do it for years. I wasn't comfortable from a fashion standpoint, and then I realized I really enjoy it. So again, I developed my own comfort, but again, it projects a professional image that is consistent with who I think of as myself inside my head. So I want to project it to people in the world.
Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next month, we're going to be talking about professionalism. And so we hope to see you then. Thank you.